Let us execute an immediate, sweeping, analytical vector shift away from the multi-millennial divine alliances, psychic shadow networks, and genetic bio-warfare codes of ancient paranormal romances, and plunge straight into the high-octane, calculation-heavy tracking grids of modern Manhattan digital dating culture, claustrophobic domestic gaslighting, and the fiercely protective, dangerously fragile world of a vulnerable professional asset running a raw tactical survival loop. We are crossing the threshold directly into the hyper-monitored, panic-inducing urban perimeters of New York City, the unique procedural grid of an active multi-layered serial homicide task force, and the lethal analytical parameters of an intense, trust-shattering deception matrix with The Boyfriend, the exceptional, pulse-pounding structural masterpiece engineered by the absolute undisputed sovereign of neck-snapping psychological twists, unreliable narrator statecraft, and high-velocity domestic paranoia, Freida McFadden. This high-stakes narrative tracking sequence delivers an exceptional look at an operational crossroads where a fierce, underestimated female accountant asset running an unyielding safety loop, a deceptively charming medical elite asset running a high-stakes proximity tracking routine, and an absolute defense of a woman's final personal sovereignty metrics collide at terminal velocity. Let us map the strategic narrative grid. If you are an elite enthusiast of high-octane, slow-burn psychological thrillers where an endangered, hyper-observant female protagonist must navigate an absolute maze of rigged dating app matches, corrupt digital social gaslighting, and a deadly ring of active metropolitan murder frame-ups while running a blind survival loop inside a completely compromised urban ecosystem, where an analytical mind uses deep behavioral profiling, calculated proximity boundaries, and absolute emotional stamina to outmaneuver an invisible predatory stalker network, and where the author utilizes an incandescent, lonely Manhattan accountant finally finds the perfect Dr. Boyfriend, only to discover he is the prime suspect in a brutal string of serial killings, diagnostic routine to test our hero's structural limits, this book is engineered to lock you in. McFadden completely dominates the high-precision dating app red flags meets suffocating metropolitan hostility dynamic, capturing the heart-racing intellectual momentum, suffocating domestic paranoia, and heavy deductive depth popularized by genre vargs like Lucy Foley, B.A. Paris, Shari LaPena, and Gillian Flynn, while treating realistic ballistic forensic logistics, complex behavioral alignment arcs, and protective high-density psychological extraction grids with absolute technical mastery. The narrative tracking grid zeroes in on the highly volatile, calculation-heavy baseline of our central legendary powerhouse asset, Sydney Shaw, operating under a severe calculation-heavy handicap of severe romantic isolation, a high-frequency blood clotting disorder causing sudden physical vulnerabilities, and a hyper-visible targeting profile across the city's treacherous dating networks. Behind Sydney's rigorous swipe database footprints and tense personal history logs lies an intricate matrix of hidden faction allegiances, deeply buried high society secrets, and sharp, high-stakes tactical maneuvers. Her collective defense mechanisms are locked down tight behind a lifetime of trying to survive toxic modern suitors and navigating intense societal pressures, her entire analytical focus strictly consumed by monitoring sudden threat vectors from an aggressive catfish stalker, parsing complex behavioral shifts from her handsome new medical suitor, and shielding her vulnerable sanctuary nodes from being entirely wiped out by a ruthless elite cleanup offensive. The spark ignites when an unexpected high-frequency structural anomaly breaches her active scanning perimeter. Her close neighbor and friend is brutally executed inside her own apartment, instantly cross-referencing Sydney's personal social circle with a high-level calculated malice when her ex-boyfriend, an elite police detective asset, takes command of the homicide registry. As the hostile predator's execution phases enter an increasingly lethal terminal tier across her personal timeline, a series of dual narrative history logs charting an abusive childhood and a deadly high school obsession parallel her active dating trajectory. The official diagnostic metrics of the Global Tracking Centers flash white-hot when her independent counter-investigative maneuvers and raw analytical output reveal that her perfect new boyfriend's hidden archival profile is radically impossibly altering the Homicide Task Force's historical balance of power. The standard boundaries of routine casual dating and peaceful civilian compliance protocols crumble, and our central protagonists run completely out of standard diplomatic escape factors. They are thrust directly into an active, invisible war across Manhattan's wealthiest circles, where deceptive best friends masking their true identities, highly manipulative stalkers, and a calculation-heavy psychological shadow network launch aggressive countermeasures to permanently suppress her survival data stream. The tactical parameters instantly explode as their historical and survival warfare turns completely active, transforming the isolated studio apartments, dark hospital surveillance perimeters, and private fortified residential rooms into a volatile psychological pressure cooker and a physical battle zone. Our protective, hypervigilant hero is forced to deploy her massive intuitive tradecraft, elite behavioral mapping skills, and raw mental stamina to preserve her focus before his relentless calculation-heavy proximity containment phase permanently deletes her boundaries. When deceptive regional red herrings, corrupted childhood records, and calculation-heavy tactical ambushes launch aggressive plays to delete her path, her survival instincts engage their final deployment tracks. Every midnight archival excavation, every silent choice to stand off against an encroaching alpha behind standard security barriers, and every intense moment of channeling raw, unyielding survival mechanics chips away at her reliance on original peaceful rules. What follows is an exceptional, high-stakes war of perspective, tactical position, and raw human grit. We watch the high society elite's deceptive perimeters completely unwrapped as Freida McFadden reveals that the true victory requires more than just surviving an initial bad date or managing a difficult police interrogation. It demands an absolute, uncompromising defense of individual dignity, personal truth, and systemic survival against a cold, calculating machine of domestic manipulation and psychopathic supremacy. While our central characters smooth over each other's psychological and defensive blind spots with devastating analytical force, creating a fiercely protective, absolute web of dark, possessive loyalty around their union, a brutal series of close-quarters tactical confrontations and high-stakes evidentiary breakthroughs shifts the clock into its terminal phase, proving that historical emotional hazards have tracked them to their final outpost. To survive the impending lock-grid trap and permanently secure her sanctuary, our resilient hero must unleash an absolute, unyielding defense of her final boundary lines. It is a psychological thriller, domestic suspense noir, serial killer mystery, high-velocity contemporary puzzle masterpiece that treats deep relational logistics and intense structural friction with elite precision. The tension here burns with a sharp, calculation-heavy intensity. We are talking about that high-frequency, one-whispered dating profile lie triggers a fatal apartment showdown energy, where a sudden pause during an active franchise tactical briefing, an unexpected shift in an adversary's protective physical posture during a high-stakes standoff confrontation, or a heavy, possessive realization that an elite intelligence operative has completely mapped your personal coordinates carries massive structural weight. McFadden writes with an exceptionally fresh, vivid, and beautifully blunt voice, perfectly capturing the heavy, oppressive atmosphere of a private executive vault before a major corporate takeover, and the distinct, subtle scent of polished mahogany, expensive hospital soap, metallic blood residue, rain-soaked city asphalt, dynamic adrenaline, spilled copper, and pure, unadulterated suspense. What truly elevates this contemporary standalone marvel into elite territory is the author's unmatched ability to balance complex, high-stakes relationship dynamics and genuine protective power tradecraft alongside a breathtaking narrative pace and deep emotional hooks. Our protagonists don't rely on unbelievable, superficial Hollywood superhero action tropes. Their immense situational intelligence, strategic patience, and profound survival instincts match the complexity of the chaotic modern corporate and high society underworld they dominate step for step, making their choices to risk everything feel profoundly authentic and deeply gripping. The pacing moves with calculated momentum, tracking intense conversational standoffs and breathtaking tactical breakthroughs before ratcheting up to an absolute, jaw-dropping conclusion that delivers total, hard-earned advancement to their horizon. The Boyfriend is the definitive pro-level upgrade your high-stakes contemporary thriller and intense asset suspense library demands right now. It is elegant, immensely fast-paced, and utterly unputdownable. It proves that when your entire sanctuary is targeted by a cold, calculating institutional monster, the most revolutionary play you can execute is to lock your perimeters, trust your elite survival training, and fight like hell with your network to rewrite the data. So secure your personal reading sanctuary, review your emotional defensive perimeters, open your Kindle, and prepare to track the fleet.